I thought I knew what true friendship and loyalty meant, until my best friend of 15 years betrayed me in the worst possible way. Jake was like a brother to me since we were 8 years old, and Megan was the woman I planned to spend my life with. Then I caught them together in my own apartment. The betrayal nearly destroyed me. Now 5 years later, Jake is suddenly begging for my forgiveness, showing up everywhere with desperate pleas for a second chance. Before I tell you how I discovered my best friend and girlfriend's betrayal, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to decide whether someone deserves a second chance. Jake and I met on the first day of 3rd grade when we were both 8 years old. I was the new kid nervously clutching my lunchbox when Jake bounded over and declared we would be best friends because we were both wearing the same Batman t-shirt. Just like that, our brotherhood was formed. Throughout elementary school, we were inseparable, riding bikes through the neighborhood, building forts in his backyard, and trading baseball cards during lunch breaks. As we grew into teenagers, our friendship only deepened. We joined the same basketball team where Jake was the star forward, while I played a solid but less flashy role as point guard. That dynamic characterized much of our relationship. Jake was always the charismatic one, drawing people to him effortlessly with his quick wit and confidence. I was more reserved, reliable, the one people counted on rather than gravitated toward. When Jake's parents divorced during freshman year of high school, he stayed at my house for 2 weeks. He tried to hide his tears at night, but I pretended not to notice and never mentioned it to anyone. A year later, when my mom got sick and had to be hospitalized, Jake visited her every day after school, with me bringing her favorite magazines and making her laugh when little else could. Our friendship survived the transition to college, though our paths diverged slightly. Jake's parents, despite their divorce, both contributed to his tuition at State University. I worked 20 hours weekly at the campus bookstore, while maintaining my scholarship, often declining social events to study or pick up extra shifts. Jake would sometimes bring back food from parties I missed, and we would stay up late talking about our classes and future plans. Junior year changed everything. When Megan walked into my American literature class, she sat next to me on the first day, asking to borrow a pen with a smile that immediately made me forget my own name. With her wavy auburn hair, intelligent green eyes, and quick sarcastic humor, she was unlike anyone I had ever met. She was a journalism major with dreams of becoming an investigative reporter, passionate about exposing corporate corruption and giving voice to marginalized communities. Our first date was at a small coffee shop near campus, where we talked for 4 hours straight. By the 3rd date, I knew I was falling in love. By our 6-month anniversary, Megan had become an integral part of my life. She was my first serious relationship, and everything about it felt right. Jake and Megan hit it off immediately when I introduced them, which initially seemed like the perfect scenario. The three of us often hung out together, watching movies in my small apartment, grabbing dinner at our favorite pizza place, or studying together at the library. Jake would tease Megan about her obsession with true crime podcasts, while she would challenge his political views, leading to spirited debates that always ended with laughter. By senior year, I was certain Megan was the woman I wanted to marry. I worked extra shifts and skipped lunches to save for a modest engagement ring planning. To propose after graduation, Jake was the first person I told about my plans, showing him the ring I had hidden in my sock drawer. "Dude, that is awesome." "She is going to say yes for sure," he said, giving me one of his characteristic bear hugs. "Let me help you plan the proposal. It has to be epic." Looking back, there were warning signs I completely missed. The way Jake's gaze would linger on Megan when he thought no one was watching. Their inside jokes that seemed to multiply. The text messages Megan would receive that made her smile in a way that deep down I knew was different from when she texted with other friends. That spring, I received a promotion at the bookstore to assistant manager, which came with more responsibility and hours. I was working evenings and weekends, building my resume for post-graduation job applications. This meant Jake and Megan spent more time alone together, ostensibly studying or watching the shows we all enjoyed, so I would not miss out. You do not mind if Jake comes over to watch the new episode of Breaking Bad, right? Megan would ask. That way we can all discuss it when you are off work. Jake is helping me study for my media ethics exam tomorrow, she explained another time. He took the class last semester. I trusted them both completely. Why would not I? Jake was my brother in all but blood, and Megan was the woman I planned to build a life with. Their betrayal never crossed my mind as a possibility, until the night everything fell apart. I was supposed to be at a bookstore conference in Chicago for the weekend, but the final day's events were canceled due to a speaker's illness. Seeing an opportunity to surprise Megan, I caught an earlier flight home, stopping to buy her favorite flowers on the way to her apartment. I had given her a key to my place months ago, but she still maintained her own apartment with a roommate, though she stayed with me most nights. As I approached her door around 8 p.m., I heard music playing and voices inside. I recognized Jake's laugh, followed by Megan's. My initial thought was simple happiness, that my two favorite people were spending time together. I knocked, excited to surprise them both. When no one answered, I knocked louder. The voices suddenly went quiet. After another moment of silence, I heard hurried movements inside. Concerned, I used the spare key Megan had given me months earlier. What I saw when I opened that door is burned into my memory forever. Jake was pulling his shirt back on, his hair disheveled. Megan stood frozen by the couch, wrapped in a throw blanket, clothes scattered on the floor. The room smelled of wine and perfume. 2 empty glasses sat on the coffee table alongside a half-empty bottle. When they saw me both, their faces drained of color. Herman, Megan gasped, clutching the blanket tighter. You are supposed to be in Chicago. The flowers slipped from my hand, landing silently on the carpet. A strange calm washed over me as my brain struggled to process the scene. How long my voice sounded foreign, detached. Jake stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. Herman, man, this is not what it looks like. Do not lie to me, I said, my voice rising. How long? Megan began crying, mascara streaming down her cheeks. 2 months, she whispered. It just happened. We never meant to hurt you. 2 months. While I was working extra hours to save for her engagement ring, while Jake was helping me plan the proposal, they were betraying me. Every late-night study session, every time they hung out while I was working, every casual text they exchanged when we were all together. All lies. You never meant to hurt me. I laughed, a hollow sound. What exactly did you think would happen when I found out my best friend and girlfriend were sleeping together behind my back? We were going to tell you, Jake said, reaching for his shoes. We just did not know how. When after the proposal you were helping me plan, or maybe after the wedding, the details poured out during that awful confrontation. How their betrayal began with an innocent movie night when I was working late. How one thing led to another. How they told themselves it was just physical at first, until feelings developed. Jake admitted he had always found Megan attractive, but respected our relationship, until he did not. Sometimes you cannot control who you fall for, he had the audacity to say. You controlled every decision that led to this moment, I responded. Every lie, every betrayal, those were choices. Megan tried to approach me, still crying. I still care about you, Herman. This is all so complicated. No, it is actually very simple, I said, backing toward the door. You both made your choice. Now you can have each other. I walked out, ignoring their calls to come back to talk more, to work things out. There was nothing left to say. In the space of 5 minutes, I had lost the 2 people I trusted most in the world. The next few weeks passed in a blur of pain and alcohol. I moved out of my apartment, unable to stay in a place where they had likely been together countless times when I was working. I crashed on another friend's couch temporarily, then found a small studio I could barely afford. I dropped classes I shared with Megan and avoided the parts of campus where I might encounter either of them. Most of our mutual friends tried to stay neutral at first, but eventually sides were taken. Some told me Jake and Megan felt terrible about what happened. Others reported they were openly dating just 3 weeks after I caught them, no longer bothering to hide their relationship. Each new piece of information was like reopening a wound just as it started to scab over. Graduation approached, and I focused entirely on finishing my degree and securing employment, preferably far from where they would be. When I spotted them holding hands at the ceremony, I turned away, refusing to let their happiness taint my accomplishment. The job offer I received the next day from a software company in Denver felt like the universe finally throwing me a lifeline. The final insult arrived a year after I moved to Colorado, a cream-colored envelope with both their names embossed in gold on the return address. Their wedding invitation. I had not spoken to either of them since the night of the betrayal had blocked their numbers and social media accounts. The invitation could only have been sent to deliberately hurt me or assuage their guilt. I shredded it without opening the envelope and blocked the new contact information it provided. Their chapter in my life was over, or so I thought. Denver became my fresh start. The city's vibrant energy and stunning mountain backdrop provided the perfect setting to rebuild my life. I threw myself into my new role as a junior developer at TechSphere, a growing software company specializing in security applications. The work was challenging and engaging, forcing my mind to focus on complex problems rather than dwelling on betrayal. For the first year, I lived like a hermit outside of work. My apartment remained minimally furnished, my social interactions limited to necessary workplace communication. Weekends were spent hiking alone in the mountains or teaching myself new programming languages. Trust did not come easily anymore. My wake-up call came during a performance review when my manager commented on my technical skills, but noted concerns about my isolation from the team. "You have potential to lead here, Herman, but you need to connect with people, not just computers." That night I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror and hardly recognized the guarded, hollow-eyed man looking back. Jake and Megan had already taken enough from me. I refused to let them take my future too. I started small, accepting invitations to after-work drinks. I joined the company softball team despite being mediocre at best. I found a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma and committed to weekly sessions. "What happened to you was a profound betrayal by the two people you trusted most," Dr. Patterson told me during our first session. "Your reaction is entirely normal, but carrying this weight forever only hurts you, not them." Slowly, incrementally, I began to heal. By my second year in Denver, I had a small but solid group of friends and had been promoted to senior developer. By the third year, I felt ready to consider dating again, though the thought still triggered anxiety. I met Alicia at a coding workshop I was leading for a local community college. She was a graphic designer looking to expand her skills with an easy laugh and a directness I found refreshing. After the 6-week course ended, she asked me to coffee. I said yes, despite the knot of fear in my stomach. Unlike my headlong dive into love with Megan, my relationship with Alicia developed carefully, thoughtfully. I was transparent about my past without dwelling on it, explaining my hesitation without using it as a wall between us. Alicia shared her own history of relationship disappointments, though none as devastating as mine. "Trust is earned over time," she said during our 4th date. "I am okay with taking things slow if you are." By my 4th year in Denver, I had been promoted to team lead, supervising 5 other developers. Alicia and I had been dating for over a year, spending most weekends together, though maintaining separate apartments. We had met each other's families during holiday visits and discussed a future together, though no formal commitments had been made. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt genuinely happy, settled in my skin. I rarely thought about Jake or Megan anymore, and when memories did surface, they lacked their former power to wound. Then came the call from my mother. "Honey, I am not sure if I should tell you this," she began hesitantly, "but Jake has been trying to reach you." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "He called the house 3 times this week. Says he really needs to talk to you." I told him you were living your own life now, but he seemed desperate. I assured her she had done the right thing. and asked her not to give him any information about me. After hanging up, I checked my long, unused email account and found 7 messages from Jake, the most recent begging for just 10 minutes of my time. My first instinct was to delete everything and continue ignoring him. Why should I give him any opportunity to ease his conscience? Whatever crisis he was experiencing was his problem, not mine. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake's attempts to contact me intensified. He messaged mutual friends, asking for my contact information. He somehow found my work email and sent messages there. He even called my company's main line, asking to speak with me, though our receptionist, briefed on the situation, refused to put him through. Then came a call from Taylor, one of the few friends I had maintained loose contact with from college. "I thought you should know what is happening," Taylor said. "Jake and Megan's marriage imploded spectacularly about 6 months ago. She cheated on him with her boss at the newspaper. Apparently told Jake that once a cheater, always a cheater. The irony was not lost on me. That is unfortunate for them," I said neutrally. "But it has nothing to do with me anymore." "There is more," Taylor continued. "Jake lost his job because he started drinking heavily. He is in pretty bad shape, man. I am not saying you owe him anything, but he seems genuinely remorseful about what happened with you." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset over the mountains, conflicted. Part of me felt a vindictive satisfaction at their misfortune. The relationship built on betrayal had ended in betrayal, poetic justice. But another part felt an unwelcome twinge of empathy. I knew the pain of that kind of betrayal firsthand. When a handwritten letter arrived at my apartment the following week, I was shocked. I had never given Jake my address. Inside was a 10-page confession, apology, and plea for a chance to make amends in person. That night, I showed the letter to Alicia over dinner at her place. "What are you thinking?" she asked after reading it. "That I have no obligation to give him anything," I replied. "He made his choices." She nodded, taking my hand across the table. "You absolutely do not owe him forgiveness or your time, but I wonder if hearing him out might be more for your benefit than his. A chance to close that chapter completely." "I closed it years ago," I insisted. "Did you?" she asked gently. "Or did you just lock it away? I was planning to visit my family for Christmas in 3 weeks. After much deliberation, I sent Jake a brief email. "I will be in town. December 23rd. Coffee shop on Maple Street. 10 a.m. One conversation. No promises." His reply came within minutes. "Thank you. I will be there." The coffee shop on Maple Street was neutral territory, neither of our old haunts. I arrived 15 minutes early, securing a table in the corner where we would not be easily overheard. I ordered a black coffee and waited, rehearsing what I might say, how I would maintain my composure. When Jake walked in, I almost did not recognize him. The confident, athletic friend I remembered had been replaced by a gaunt, prematurely aged man. His once thick brown hair was thinning and flecked with gray, though he was only 30. Dark circles underscored his eyes, and his shoulders hunched, as if perpetually bracing for a blow. He spotted me and froze momentarily before approaching with visible trepidation. "Herman," he said, his voice hoarse, "thank you for coming." I gestured to the chair across from me without speaking. He sat down, hands trembling slightly as he removed his coat. "You look good," he said after ordering his own coffee. "Really good. I heard you are doing well in Colorado. I did not come here for small talk, Jake." My voice was steadier than I expected. "You said you needed to speak with me, so speak." He nodded, taking a deep breath. "I deserve that. I deserve all your anger and more." He stared into his coffee for a long moment before continuing. "I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I have had 5 years to think about what I did, and I still cannot explain it in any way that does not make me sound like a complete selfish bastard." "At least we agree on that," I said. "Megan and I," he paused. "Our relationship was toxic from the start. We both knew it was built on betrayal, but we told ourselves our connection was special, somehow, that it justified what we did to you. I remained silent, unwilling to make this easier for him. The first year was a carousel of fights, followed by reconciliations, constant suspicion and jealousy on both sides. I was always checking her phone. She was always questioning where I had been. He laughed bitterly. When we sent you that wedding invitation, we were already in couples counseling. I think we got married to prove to ourselves that what we did to you was justified, that we were meant to be together. Is that supposed to make me feel better? I asked. No, he said quickly. Nothing I say is meant to make you feel better. I just want you to know the truth. That karma, or justice, or whatever you want to call it, caught up with us. He detailed their marriage's collapse, the constant fights, the financial struggles when Jake lost his father's support after arguing about Megan, the growing resentment, and finally Megan's affair with her newspaper editor, discovered when Jake surprised her at work, much like I had surprised them years earlier. She told me it was karma, he said, voice breaking. Said that if I could cheat with her, I would cheat on her, and she was just beating me to it. When I reminded her that I had never cheated on her, she laughed and said, once a betrayer, always a betrayer. You just haven't found someone worth betraying me for yet. Their divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Jake lost his job at the investment firm where he had worked since graduation, his drinking having led to missed meetings and sloppy work. He moved back in with his mother, temporarily attending rehab and therapy. Part of my recovery program is making amends, he explained. But this is not just checking a box for me, Herman. Betraying you has been the greatest regret of my life. Not because of how things turned out for me, but because I destroyed something irreplaceable. Our brotherhood. I studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or insincerity. I found none, just genuine brokenness. What exactly are you hoping for here, Jake? Forgiveness? For us to be friends again? I do not deserve either, he said quietly. I just needed you to know how sorry I am, how much I regret the pain I caused you, and to tell you that you were right to cut us both off. You deserved so much better than what we did to you. We sat in silence for several minutes. The Jake I had known had always filled quiet moments with jokes or stories. This subdued, reflective man was a stranger. Can you ever forgive me? He finally asked, eyes fixed on the table between us. I considered the question carefully. 5 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. A year ago, maybe the same. But sitting across from him now, seeing the consequences of his choices etched into his face, I realized something unexpected. The anger that had once consumed me had faded to a dull ache, more memory than active pain. I spent years letting what you and Megan did define me, I said slowly. It changed how I saw myself, how I approached relationships, how I trusted people. I had to rebuild myself from scratch. Jake nodded, accepting this. But I have a good life now. A career I love. A relationship with someone who values honesty above all else. I took a deep breath. I forgive you, Jake. Not because you deserve it, but because I do not want to carry this anymore. But we can never be friends again. That bridge is completely burned. Tears filled his eyes. That is more than I hoped for. Thank you. As we prepared to leave, he asked about Alicia, and I shared a few details about our relationship. He seemed genuinely happy for me. I am glad one good thing came from all this, he said. You found someone worthy of you. We parted with an awkward handshake, no hugs or promises to keep in touch. I watched him walk away, shoulders slightly straighter than when he arrived, and felt an unexpected lightness in my own chest. I returned to Denver and Alicia with a sense of closure I had not realized I was missing. On New Year's Eve, surrounded by friends at a party overlooking the city lights, I proposed. Her joyful acceptance felt like the final piece of my new life clicking into place. 3 months later, a card arrived congratulating us on our engagement. Jake's signature at the bottom included no return address, no phone number, no requests, just a simple wish for our happiness. The betrayal by my best friend and girlfriend changed me forever. It taught me painful lessons about trust, friendship, and human weakness. But it also led me to where I am today, with a deeper appreciation for genuine connection and honesty. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it simply means releasing yourself from the weight of anger so you can move forward, unburdened. Jake and Megan will always be part of my story, but they are no longer the defining chapter. Have you ever had to decide whether to forgive someone who betrayed your trust? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story of betrayal and eventual healing resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life journeys. Consider sharing this with someone who might be struggling with similar wounds to show them there is a path forward. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that while betrayal can break you, it is your choice whether to stay broken or build something stronger from the pieces.